Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are doing well. My name is Biswajeet, and I work as a program manager in the developer relations team at Google. Before I begin, allow me to take a moment to talk about what's happening currently. The COVID-19 is far from over. It has caused extreme amount of panic and paranoia uh, among a lot of people, and this is affecting the entire world. And to say that we are all in this together, and I'm very sure I think the human, will power to solve this will persist, and this too shall pass. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay indoors as much as you can, and take care of your family. I'll also take this moment to thank everyone who is at the forefront of COVID response, all the essential care providers, doctors, healthcare professionals, police, and so on. Um, there are a lot of people who can take the luxury of staying inside, but not a lot of people can afford that luxury outside. Speaking of working from home, this is my, I think like I have already completed 3 months inside home. It's not great. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it at all. It becomes difficult to separate your work and your, your personal life and so on. And I am very sure many of you, you are feeling the same. But it also gives an opportunity to invest the extra time if we have in learning something new and like making ourselves more capable. And I hope, I think this event is going to serve that purpose. So, on behalf of the entire team, I welcome you all to this amazing 4 day online event focused entirely on web called Web.dev Live India. If you are like, if it would have been like a physical event, I would have asked you to basically clap your hands. But if you are also, staying at home, you can still clap your hands. This is a follow-up event of the online event Google put together 10 days back from June 30th to July 2nd called Web.dev Live. The event is over, but the recordings and everything is already shared. So you can go and watch them at web.dev/live. This event is entirely organized by a group of amazingly passionate community leaders who are also really, really interested in the field of web. So if you see people in this slide and recognize them, feel free to say hi and feel free to say thanks because the event is going to be really amazing. They have come together and they have put together some brilliant speakers both from India and from international stage and across a variety of web topics. So stay tuned and hopefully you will enjoy this. Before we start, I wanted to share a couple of like ground rules for this. Uh, Even though we are not going to be sitting together in a conference, we are still here together virtually. So whatever the interactions is and wherever you are basically meeting and talking and engaging with organizers and fellow audience, try to remember these three things. First, be nice. We are all part of the same community. So try to be someone who people will like to be around. So if yeah, be nice, be friendly, be welcoming. Second, whenever you are engaging, be respectful and constructive. You might have a different opinion and viewpoint, but always remember, don't go into personal attacks, vent or rant. Third, be a learner. Always be curious, challenge assumptions, don't take things at a face value. It's absolutely okay if you don't have share the same viewpoints, and maybe possible that someone who is speaking might be saying something wrong, which you can contradict and rectify. But do that nicely, do that constructively. And given that you are committing yourself to this 3 hours of every day for next 4 days, please honor your commitment for your own sake and own learning. If you are really curious about interesting like learning about this, please step like put your phone aside and everything, if unless you are watching this thing on your phone, and continue to be a learner. uh, I Let's start with the question. How many devices do you think would be there in the world? Like how many devices are connected to internet? If you have any guess, feel free to add them in the YouTube comment. Um, so, so basically, many of us might have concepts like devices are not smartphones or laptops anymore. Any device which is connected to internet and can perform some activities is smart. So there are 20 billion, almost close to 20 billion devices now in 2020. And do you know which platform or which technology powers them all? It's not a surprise. It's web. 20 billion devices across 4 billion internet users globally. And web is that, and web and internet are those platforms which are keeping us together, which are keeping us connected, and which are probably helping us go through this global pandemic called COVID. And I think these devices have evolved, right? Like 5 6 years back, smartphone, and we are talking about like what is the percentage of share of search which is going to smartphone, what is the percentage of internet traffic which is going to the smartphone. That's not the conversation anymore. Now the devices concept has transformed completely. There is smartwatch, there is smart lens, there are home devices like Google Home or Alexa, there are smart TV, there is gaming, like just like controllers which are already smart, which doesn't need to be connected to anywhere. So we are entering an era where I think it's also called now surfaces. So any surfaces can be like connected and can be smart, and so on. And building for this kind of like diverse set of devices, diverse set of surfaces is an interesting challenge. It's an interesting challenge for the web developers. It's an interesting challenge for the product managers, for the visionaries of web in general. So while we are going through this interesting world, and web which has been there for like the longest serving technology, maybe probably, and like among the contemporaries, and and it is like it has a lot of legacy components, but it has also surprised everyone by increasing its capabilities, increasing its the things that it can do. So what are the things which matters the most when we think about the future of web? I have four things to talk about, and these four things sort of will be the theme for the web.dev live India as well. First, performance. And the performance is not only limited to the page speed. I think that was a conversation 3 4 years back, but it also the performance of experience. So let's say a user is browsing a website, both speed and experience are combining together and coming up as like one of the major topics to think about and to basically discuss. Second, it's not a surprise, privacy and security. Being respectful to users' privacy and keeping, I think, the entire ecosystem secure from everyone, from unwarranted threats like Spectre, is the challenge. Third, and the most important, the most exciting part is capabilities. For years, I think we have always said that hey, web can't do this, web can't do that, web apps have these limitations and things like that. But of late, I feel web apps capabilities is merging that with like native apps and services. So how we can basically how we can match the experience of web apps to other surfaces is an exciting feat, and there is a tons of work which is happening in Google and in multiple other corporations. The last, but one of the most important for you all development. All of you are going to power the next future of web. So making life of web developers better with better framework and tools is going to be one of the major topics to discuss. So let me straight go into like give like a 5,000 or 500,000 feet view of what is happening in each of these things. And but this 4 days there are going to be deep dives into each of these topics. So stay tuned and understand what's happening in these worlds. First, performance. So let's see what's going on in the world of performance. The biggest update in the world of performance is something called Web Vitals, which got announced like I think like 1.5 months back. Chrome team announced this initiative to provide like a unified guidance, metrics and tools to deliver great experience. Like 15 days later, Google search team also announced that while evaluating the page experience in order to rank and in order to serve them on the search page, they will also include core vitals as like a foundation. This initiative, while it is like it basically simplifies a lot of metrics people have been talking about, and it helps people to focus on like few things which probably matters the most. And I think this, if I have to basically give like a little bit more, Saurabh has an amazing talk today on this, so he will basically deep dive into each of these things. The core vitals, what we say right now, the three metrics which matters the most, it belongs to these three things. Like first of all, whether the page is loading. Second, when the user is basically interacting, how responsive this page is. The third is like the visual stability, whether it is like good or not. I won't go more into this because there is an amazing talk, and I hope you tuned in and you watched that talk. Saurav is an amazing speaker, and he will give you one of the best sessions out there. Second pillar that I was talking about, and a lot of work is happening in this, called capabilities. How can expand the capabilities of web, right? The first one I wanted to talk about is PWA. You might be surprised, okay, why Biswa is talking about PWA? It's not a new thing. It has been there for years now. And we know that. And PWA basically combine that reach of web capabilities and basically which were only available to native apps. And I think a lot of web developers want great PWAs to be used inside their Android applications. And I think PWAs have become so amazing that you can't even know that they are like, they're PWAs and not Android apps. I think there is like a COVID-19, one of the dashboards, I use it as a PWA in my phone. And it's amazing. You don't feel like it's a separate like browser based thing. For a long time, I think building a PWA had like two sort of like things. Either you can use it like Android WebView or embed like a browser engine. WebView doesn't provide support for a lot of new capabilities like push notifications and so on. And using like a browser engine is like a lot of like end effort, and it creates like a bigger app size. So last year we brought some new thinking into this and called TWA, or Trusted Web Activities. It basically overcomes some of those limitations, but in order to build a TWA, you still need some sort of Android understanding, which we can't expect a web developer to have in this case. We can't expect the web developers to know Android, because I think then we want Android developers to build for web, right? So there is a new thing which is coming up called Bubble Wrap. It's a Node.js project, and it brings like a library and a CLI which a web developer can use without having understanding of Android to build PWAs which can exist inside Android devices. The second and one of the most exciting thing which is happening is called Project Fugu. I don't know how many of you know about it, but if you don't, please absolutely read about it. And if you know something about it, please feel free to add your thoughts in the comment section. The concept came like, we want you to create the highest quality web apps, okay, which can give like the best amount of reach across devices, and you should be able to use the existing functionalities or existing capabilities in the surface on the device in order to power these web apps. So that's how it's called. It came up with something called Project Fugu, which is also called like capability project. It's a cross-company effort, not only by Google. And there are like three major things which is happening here. Basically, the first one is give web developers and users more control over the experience of how to install the app and so on. Second is basically tighter integration with the operating system, so that you can basically use the operating system's ability to share things, like share a photo, share a song, or whatever. You can just like invoke system level share service. Third is like some of the new things. For example, you can use, let's say you are using a phone, you can use the contacts in order to power your web app, which is probably not possible without this. So, and I think they're building a bunch of APIs in order to power this kind of new capabilities. Dhananjay has an exciting talk about it on day 3. So basically, please, please stay in. And day 3 is all about PWA, TWA, and Fugu, and so on. So please stay tuned. And like, it's also not new. AMP has been there for a while, but AMP is like developing into this. Like, this is an excellent framework which is giving the developers build amazing experience, fast speed across platforms. In those platforms where content is the king, like where content, like for example, news sites and things like that, or blogs, where content is the majority of the experience, without involving like huge amount of development time, AMP empowers developers to build websites, right? So, and I think we also see the future of AMP similarly. It should be effective, it should be cost effective, it should be simple, which allows developers to just focus on their product. And like AMP takes care of everything related to performance, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of exciting new projects happening in the area of AMP, like Bento AMP, AMP Optimizer, etc. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but if you use WordPress to power your website, the CMS, WordPress already has a plugin which can basically publish AMP sites by default. My own blog is also powered by WordPress, and you can just like click something like, hey, publish on AMP, and it will also publish like an AMP site. The next one is stories. Who doesn't like stories, right? I mean, it started like a Snapchat thing, but now it's an integral part of like almost every sort of domain. It's there on entertainment sites, it's there on news sites, it's there on messaging, social media, and so on. So I think Google also understands that stories is going to be a huge part of the future of web. And we have shared an update on web stories, which is like going to be immersive and fast loading experience. If you want to know more, you should check out on this thing link amp.dev/about/stories. Privacy and security, a no-brainer, a very important part of like the web development for years. And I think there are like a bunch of things happening, mostly on the cookies. Like last year, Chrome proposed like a standard where it restricts cookies to as a default to first-party context. And if the cookies has to be used for third-party context, like some other third-party platforms has to use it, it should be explicitly marked. So it sort of like has like a one line of defense. On the security side, there are also things like new concepts are coming up like COP and COEP, which basically, I mean, one of the like Spectre was a vulnerability which prevented, which basically made sure that like let's say in one browser there is a malicious code running which can also affect other websites and other things from a different origin. So it just empowers that site isolation in some sense, so that we can probably have some line of defense against this kind of security threats. And the last one, development. I told like web is moving into this new and exciting territories. And who is empowering this? Passionate web developers like you. All of you are behind how web is moving towards this amazing, uncharted, but exciting territory. So keeping an eye on the pain points of web developers and help solve them, and also at least empathize with them and give some sort of perspective in the short and long run is definitely one of the focuses areas. So one of the new things which is recently have done is like build tools have been some pain points, which one to select, which one not to select, and so on. So we came up with this thing called tooling.report, which basically helps you choose the right build tool for your next project. You can decide whether to migrate from one tool to another, is it worth it, or whether you should do it at all, or whether what kind of tools you should consider, and things like that. And it basically it has a little bit of like, it basically compares multiple build tools. We are working together with the creators of this build tool so that they are like very fairly represented. But yeah, I think this is an amazing tool which we can use. Second, I think Web Vitals is going to be an exciting conversation for some time, and this Web Vitals will also evolve. There are like these three things, but this is also going to be evolve every year. This Web Vitals are now, you can see it almost across all type of tools, be it like page speed insights, Chrome Dev Tools, Chrome UX reports, and things like that. There is also an extension called Web Vitals extension. So that's there. There are some exciting updates on Chrome Dev Tools. I won't go more into details because there is an exciting talk by Sam today. I think there is another talk by Dhruti after me, and after that, Sam has this amazing talk about like tooling and what's the update. There are updates on there is a new tab called Issues tab. Like there is some exciting update on the accessibility, like how you can basically developers can see how page color and contrast changes and things like that. So stay tuned and wait for the Sam's talk. And almost there is like update across all of these tools. So be it There is something called web.dev/major. There is Lighthouse, like there are updates on Lighthouse and page speed insights and things like that. So Sam's talk will cover most of this. All right, I am almost at the end of my keynote. So I'm just going to summarize again those four things. And performance, absolutely critical. We spoke about Web Vitals, such a major conversation around it. Capabilities, so many things happening here. PWA, AMP, web stories, Project Fugu. Privacy and security, how like we are empowering to make web more secure and more like basically give the privacy sort of like functionality. And lastly, how we are making lives of web developers, how everyone is making lives of web developers better with like updates on different tools. And there is this new thing called tooling.report. All right. And what better can be this amazing event, which is Web Dev Live India. We have 26 speakers for you, span across 4 days, 4 themes across the kind of the pillars that I spoke about. And the speakers are like, I have heard some of them, I know some of them personally, and they're like simply amazing. There are speakers from Google, from companies like GoIBibo, Nika, Agraya Technology, and Oyo, and so on. So please stay tuned. I hope this will be really worth it. Just to give like a little bit of like overview, if you want to see what kind of speakers are there. Today is the theme. Today's theme is called Performance and Developer Tools. And Dhruti, Sam, Saurabh, and Sunit are going to speak. And at the end of every day, there is like a Q&A session by all of the speakers. Tomorrow, the topic or the theme is called Front End and AMP. And Hiren, Ashok, Niveta, Aman, and Stephen from Google, they are going to speak about it at the end. There is another, question and answer session. And day 3 is, I told you, PWA, TWA, and Fugu. Dhananjay, Aditi, Varsha, Arpan, Prasant, Ankit. These are amazing speakers for the day. And the last day on Sunday, it's about privacy and user experience. And we have some amazing speakers there: Johan, Ayush, Punita, Santosh, Jagriti, and there is a topic on web payments also by Dharmesh, who is like the payment GD or in India. And lastly, Google Developers India has been producing this amazing monthly sort of series about, if you have any questions about any specific technology, you can ask. We have a theme for every month. You can ask about that topic, and we'll have some amazing Googlers to basically answer those things, like in a 20 minutes video. So if you are, so last 2 months topic has been Kotlin and Android, and this month's topic is web. So if you have any questions about web, this is your chance to get answered, along with web.dev live India. So you can submit this form, goo.gle/askgoogledevsindia-web, and the last deadline is, I think, 12th of July. So yeah, I think maybe if you ask, you will see your answers by the end of this month on a YouTube video. That's about it. Thank you so much, and have a great learning experience with this event. All the best, folks, and stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.